I will not tolerate such behaviour. If you want to go out now, but if you stand again, I will order you out. Make your mind up. Either shut up and get out.
Stop everything. What you're about to hear marks an unprecedented moment in over 300 years of British democracy. A sitting Prime Minister physically removed from Parliament by security guards. Following a live televised breakdown, the footage is already sweeping across the globe, and its consequences could redefine the future of British politics. It happened on Thursday, 2:30 p.m., inside the House of Commons. Prime Minister Keir Starmer took his usual place on the government benches for a routine Prime Minister's questions. The chamber was packed, cameras rolling, millions watching. Then Nigel Farage rose to his feet. No theatrics, just cold, devastating facts. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised to stop the boats. Instead, we've seen 45,000 illegal crossings this year alone. Deportation flights cancelled. Hotels costing taxpayers £8.2 billion, while British families struggle to find housing. And now, leaked documents reveal secret talks to rejoin EU migration schemes. Each word struck like a hammer. Starmer's face tightened, his hands gripping the dispatch box. Farage pressed on. The people voted for border control. What they got was betrayal dressed up as compassion. When will this Prime Minister admit his policies have catastrophically failed? It was a sharp political attack routine in Westminster, but what followed was anything but routine. Rather than deflect, debate, or defend, Starmer exploded. He erupted from his seat, finger jabbing across the chamber. How dare you lecture this government on compassion, when all you do is spread hatred and division? The chamber froze. This was not politics. This was fury uncontrolled, unfiltered, broadcast live to the nation. Starmer's voice rose higher. You have no right to speak of British values. You spent your career tearing this country apart. You're a disgrace. Veteran MPs stared in disbelief. Conservatives sat stunned. Even Labour's own benches looked horrified. Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle intervened, demanding order. The Prime Minister will resume his seat immediately, but Starmer ignored him, advancing toward the opposition benches, still shouting, spittle flying. I will not be lectured by someone who profits from hatred. At that moment, Britain's most powerful man appeared to be losing complete control. That's when the Speaker reached for a forgotten rule. Standing Order 43, rarely invoked. It grants the Speaker absolute authority to eject any MP, including the Prime Minister, for disorderly conduct. I am directing the Prime Minister to withdraw from the chamber immediately, Hoyle declared. Gasps filled the air. Silence fell, broken only by the clicking of press cameras. Starmer stood trembling. You cannot be serious. I am entirely serious, Hoyle replied. Security escorted the Prime Minister from the chamber. Two officers approached. Starmer looked around, desperate, but no one moved to shield him. His voice faltered. This is outrageous. The decision stands, Hoyle said firmly. And so, in front of the nation, the Prime Minister's shoulders slumped. Authority shattered, was escorted from Parliament by security guards. The humiliation was total. And Nigel Farage, calm as ever, delivered the final blow. This is what happens when politicians cannot defend their failures. They lash out. They break down. But the people of Britain deserve leadership, not tantrums. The contrast was brutal. One man unraveling, the other collected and controlled. Within minutes, the footage exploded across social media. The hashtag PM thrown out trended worldwide. Flash polls showed Starmer's approval rating collapsing by 20 points in just 24 hours. Radio shows across the north were flooded with furious callers. If he can't control himself in Parliament, how can he control the country? Even lifelong Labour supporters admitted they were finished. Meanwhile, Reform UK saw an unprecedented surge. Their membership website crashed. Donation systems buckled under the weight of contributions. By evening, Nigel Farage stepped outside Parliament for a press conference. His message was devastating in its simplicity. What we witnessed was not just a loss of temper, it was a loss of authority, credibility, and the basic self-control required to lead this nation. The Prime Minister could have defended his policies with facts. Instead, he chose anger. That message cut through. International headlines rolled in. French President Emmanuel Macron's office expressed concern over UK stability. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz pointedly stressed that steady leadership was essential. In Australia, the Prime Minister's hesitant pause when asked about Britain's leadership spoke volumes. Back in Westminster, panic set in. Emergency Labour meetings. Frantic WhatsApp groups. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner reportedly furious, telling Keir Starmer had embarrassed the party and damaged Britain's reputation, but silence from number 10 only deepened the crisis. For 72 hours, the Prime Minister made no public statement, no press conference, no interview. In the absence of leadership, Reform UK filled the vacuum, flooding social media with powerful clips contrasting Farage's composure with Starmer's meltdown. The videos drew millions of views, and when the first full week's polling arrived, it was seismic. Labour's support collapsed to just 26, their lowest since the 2019 disaster. Reform UK surged to 25, within touching distance of overtaking Labour as the official opposition, and for the first time, when voters were asked who would make the best Prime Minister, Nigel Farage ranked ahead of Keir Starmer. This was no longer a story about one outburst. This was the story of British politics being rewritten in real time. As the fallout intensified, Labour faced an existential crisis. Focus groups described Starmer as unhinged, unstable, and embarrassing. Even party loyalists admitted they were reconsidering their vote. Meanwhile, Reform UK capitalized on the chaos. Farage embarked on a nationwide tour. Rallies drew unprecedented crowds, and each event began the same way, with the footage of Starmer's ejection played on giant screens. The question followed: is this the leadership you voted for? The stability you were promised? The roar of "no" echoed through packed halls. Labour's attempts at damage control only made things worse. Ministers insisted Starmer had shown passion. Voters dismissed it as spin. Shadow cabinet interviews looked awkward and unconvincing. Privately, MPs admitted the crisis was catastrophic. Some began to openly rebel. Senior Labour figures submitted letters of no confidence, accusing Starmer of bringing disgrace to the party and humiliation to the nation. At the same time, a constitutional storm erupted. Legal experts pointed out that Standing Order 43, the rule used to eject Starmer, had never been tested in the Supreme Court. Could a speaker truly remove a sitting prime minister? Did Parliament have authority over the executive? The case landed in Britain's highest court within days. Scholars were split. Some argued Parliament's sovereignty justified Hoyle's decision. Others claimed executive authority should protect the Prime Minister. Whatever the outcome, one fact was undeniable: Britain's political order was cracking. Polling confirmed it. Labour sank further. Reform UK overtook them as the official opposition, polling neck and neck with the Conservatives. For the first time, Nigel Farage was seriously discussed as a potential Prime Minister. And national markets wobbled. The pound fluctuated as investors questioned Britain's stability. Allies quietly expressed concern about political continuity. Inside Labour, chaos deepened. Shadow ministers resigned one after another. Party membership plummeted. Councils defected to Reform. Grassroots activists, once the engine of Labour campaigning, abandoned ship. 3 weeks on, the damage was irreversible. Keir Starmer's approval ratings had collapsed beyond recovery. When he finally appeared before cameras, it was too little too late. The public had moved on. Reform UK surged. Their message was resonating. The establishment had failed. The system was broken, and only reform could restore stability. The Supreme Court ruling loomed. If it backed Hoyle, Parliament's supremacy over the executive would be cemented in unprecedented fashion. If it sided with Starmer, it would leave Britain with a humiliated Prime Minister still clinging to office, his credibility in tatters. Either outcome represented a constitutional earthquake, but the political earthquake had already struck. Britain's map was shifting. Labour's northern heartlands, the so-called Red Wall, were now Reform battlegrounds. Local polls even showed Farage's party ahead in constituencies Labour once considered untouchable. Even the press could not protect Starmer. The Guardian labeled it a moment of madness that threatens everything Labour stands for. Comedians turned it into satire. Social media turned it into memes. But beneath the humor, trust in institutions collapsed to historic lows. At tea reform rallies, Farage summed it up. One moment of rage revealed everything wrong with our politics. Weak leadership, fragile institutions, empty promises. The response thundered back from the crowds. Change. The old order was crumbling. Something new was rising, and the stakes could not be higher. Britain's future leadership, its constitutional balance, even the basic stability of its democracy, everything now hangs in the balance. One prime minister's loss of control has redrawn the political map. Whether Keir Starmer survives or not, his outburst will echo through history. This isn't just Westminster drama. This is history being written in real time.